Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Ding Darling National Wildlife Society lecture series. This is an ongoing series that we at the Society provide. We are the nonprofit arm of the Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge, and we help them with funding and we help them do outreach programs such as this. So we're very excited to have a special guest today, and that's why you all are here. We also have a mailing list out front if you'd like to learn more about the Ding Darling Wildlife Society. We also have a sign-up sheet for our weekly newsletter, and it's very informative, and you can learn more about us through that and anything that is going in and on at the refuge as well. So we just want to welcome you to this series. Charlie Sobczak is how I learned how to pronounce his name, and he is going to be presenting to you today. He's written over 10 books in total. He recently wrote the Year of the Bad Decision, and he has been a staple speaker with Rhodes Scholars for over 20 years. And he is also an accomplished realtor here on Sanibel Island. And after the talk as well, we're going to be doing a book signing with Charlie in front of our nature store as well. And if you care to shop at the nature store, 100% of our proceeds go directly to the nonprofit to help support programs like these. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Sobczak.
He said he was going to be nice, and he was pretty nice, all things considered. He didn't talk about the alcohol abuse or anything. So it's nice to be here on a kind of not a great day to be at the beach day anyway, talking about all of our unwelcome friends, how they got here, and how much trouble they cause. We're lucky we don't have some of them. Some of them are worse than others. I start this presentation out with this particular slide only because this is like a 1950s postcard. And if you look right here, you see that green iguana? That's the same one that was in your yard earlier today. Or that fell out of the tree and killed your neighbor. That's too funny. Let's get started by taking a look at what potential invasive species has not yet gained a foothold in the Sunshine State. Now this is my favorite, Egyptian spitting cobras. Have any of you died from being attacked? Show of hands. So listen to this. This is a good one, guys. You're gonna like this. You know, most cobras have to bite you. These ones don't. They spit at you and they're accurate within an inch at 15 feet. They spit in your eye, you're blind, and then you die. How's that? Isn't that fun? And they would thrive here. That's the day. I put this on as kind of a joke, but it's not a joke. If we ended up getting Egyptian spitting cobras, they'd do just fine. They eat mostly rats, and we got a lot of them. Here we don't have this one. As a matter of fact, I just watched the film. This is a South American green anaconda, technically the heaviest and largest snake on Earth. A large female can weigh 450 pounds and be 32 feet long, which is longer than the width of this room. So we don't have them yet. There are a few around, but they've not established. Of course, the idea is if we do get them, then we'll bring in cougars and panthers to kill them and then really just cascade the nightmare. And then when you go on your nature walk, you'll have to watch for leopards, which is awkward. This is a true photo, not Photoshop. This is how big African crocodiles get. They can go to 24 feet and weigh 6,000 pounds. The only thing bigger than them are the saltwater crocs of Australia, Indonesia, all of those things. Those things have actually been recorded to go up over 30 feet and weigh 8,000 pounds. And they can eat an entire cow. You know, you guys like just a burger. Anyway, that was a man killer. This particular crocodile killed like 20 people. We don't have man-eating plants yet, although this one appears to be eating Bill Gates. That's probably, I don't know why he's the nice one of the bunch. But in any event, we do have what I call land-eating plants. And this is Brazilian pepper. And I have to applaud, yes, I know, I have to applaud the city of Sanibel for doing its darndest to just about eradicate Brazilian pepper. It was brought here in the 20s as an ornamental. They call it Christmas holly down in South America, where it's from, because it blooms these beautiful red berries at Christmas time, so people would use them as decorative sprays, not knowing that the robins and the catbirds and everybody loved these things after they ripened, and then they'd crap them out, spread them, and like there's bazillions of acres of this crap. We don't have any Godzillas in this, which is good, but if you're in the Japan, Tokyo area, there are still some out there, so just be aware. We do have a fish that looks an awful lot like Godzilla. This is a lionfish, and they have ravaged parts of the Yucatan and the Caribbean and the East Coast. Fortunately for us, for reasons I don't know, I suspect Goliath grouper eat them, because we really don't have many out on our coast, right here. But there are places in the Yucatan where this fish is 90% of the fish population. The first non-native animal arrived some 12 to 14,000 years ago as the best friend of the Paleo-Indians. Its scientific name was Canis lupus familiaris. We call them dogs. Dogs came with us right from the start, and likely probably rats too, my guess. But dogs actually are very vicious, and they account for a lot of fatalities, and especially wild dogs. I mean, when they go wild, they go kind of back into the wolf behavior. And while rare feral dogs still injure or kill scores of people in North America, they damage and incur to wildlife property and domesticated animal exceeds $160 million a year. And they really are terrible in northern Minnesota in the springtime, late March and April. What happens is the top of the snow will crust, it'll thaw during the day, and then it'll freeze at night. So you can, if you're a dog, you've got those big paws, you can run on top of it. But if you're a deer, your hooves go through it, you can barely run at all. And one dog can run down and kill 20 deer a night. I mean, they just go crazy. Invasive mammals, 1521 to 1530. This is, a lot of people think this is a shot of me and my mom. Matter of fact, it might be. My mom did have dark hair, and her name was Harriet, so that kind of fits somehow there. I like that look. I got to go over and read this, though, you guys. This is just, well, maybe I can read it from here. In this, yeah, a quest for, well, I'll read it from here, if I can turn around. A quest for longevity. 500 years ago, the Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon drank his way around Florida. How many out there have done that themselves? I've been a lot at Lickerdale, Fort Lickerdale. I've been to the Key Weird. I've done the Duval Crawl. I'm there. I didn't find the Fountain of Youth. I found liver damage. He did. We all drank our way around Florida. But he left us these wonderful, actually he didn't leave these, yes he did, I stand corrected. In 1521 at Punta Rasa, which is right across the bay here, he left us wild pigs. That's not a wild pig. That's, you look at it and you're seeing a wild boar. That is a medieval pig. That's how the medieval pigs, we had not really bred out the wildness, so they look, and here's an American wild pig. Now, if you can tell me there's a whole world of difference, I don't see it. So this is where they are as of 2015, but they're continually expanding. They're probably now in, they're just thick as thieves. And here's some stats. And here's what this is actually they don't call them herds though. What do they call them? Things of pigs. Sound, is it sound? Yeah, anyway, this is just a giant flock. We call them flock of pigs in Texas. And because there are so many, I think in Texas, what are we talking, 3 to 5 million? And Florida's second. And we're lucky we don't have them, because they have them in Cayo Costa, and they have them up on the Barrier Islands, just north of us, wild boars, wild pigs, and they swim. So I'm sure in the past we've probably had one or two, none documented though. But and they get ginormous. This one is not Photoshop. That's how big that. They get to 800 pounds. And in Texas, of course, they do it right. They go and they shoot them by helicopter, and they have to because in Texas, we're back to that Ponce de Leon thing, aren't we? When did you first see the flying pig? Is that how many hours were you in Sloppy Joe's? And this one is Photoshop, but I kind of love it because it's same size as a rhino, which is funny. It is important to understand this, and this is something that I really want to drill home. If you take one thing home today from this lecture of invasive species, understand this one thing. Every one of these invasive species is innocent. They didn't do jack except try to survive in a new environment. Most of them don't make it, thank heaven. Most of them don't make it. But those that do, they're not to blame. Most of them didn't get here on their own. They got here through, I know who to blame. It's the person inside of us. They're just trying to survive and thrive just like us. So although we can scream at the insane amount of wild pigs, what are there, 15, 20 million wild pigs in the United States? The wild pigs didn't do a damn thing. They just got set free when all of the Calusas attacked the Ponce de Leon, and they had to abandon all their farm animals. The cows all died. Well, not all. Some of the cows spread wild, too. This is one we don't have, but they have it in Sarasota County, and they have it probably in Collier. This is in Nutria. They were brought in for the fur trade. You can see size-wise, they're a little bit smaller than a beaver and bigger than a muskrat. And they got wild, and they're all over the damn place. That's the spread of them. They're very heavy up in the Chesapeake Bay area, and now up in Oregon as well. This one here is one that we all know and love. Black rats. Okay, let me start by, there is no such thing as a palm rat. That's like calling a cockroach a palmetto bug. It's still a cockroach. You can call a black rat whatever you want, but it is a black rat. It's one of the few Latin ones I know. It's Rattus ratus. Extremely arboreal. So if you find one in your attic, don't be surprised. They climb just about anything. They're absolute epidemic proportions here on Santa. We've fought them back. It's like a continual war. Raccoons help because they go up into the trees and kill the babies, eat them. But these black rats can get way out of hand. And once in a position where they can breed, they can, faster than Catholics, if you can believe that. A little humor there, folks. Very, very little. So here's the range of black rats, and Saskatchewan is dreaming that they don't have them. So you can see they've gotten around. But the roof rat, the black rat, does not fare well in real cold climates. There you go, turn more to the sewer rat, which is a bigger but different species. House mice. Has anyone here lived, I'm assuming, how many of you live here on Sanadol? Oh, not as many as I would have thought. Have you ever seen a house mouse?
Yeah.
And on Sanibel? No, I've never, but they do they're in Fort Myers and in like Sarasota and stuff. People have seen them, but I've never seen them out here. Distribution of house mice, they're kind of blocked by the tropics, but they're everywhere. This is not my wife nor my girlfriend. She's very chic, and we're going to get to her later. She's got that same fur coat on, but she's got an iPhone 16 or is it 17 now? I lose track. Invasive reptiles and amphibians. Hey, congratulations. We lead the world in invasive species. We have over 110 invasive lizards and amphibians and reptiles. Of course, the one big one is the Burmese python, which, by the way, is unstoppable. They have this big rodeo, and they champion the fact that they kill like 120. There are 10,000 Burmese pythons estimated to be in the Everglades. So you take 120 of them. You guys do the math. How many are left? They get to be absolutely enormous. They can weigh over 200 pounds and be 20 feet long. And that's a real shock. That's one of them. And here's where the spread is, and they'll continue to spread all the way until possibly the cold might stop them. The deep freezes around Gainesville. This guy here is wise to take a drop, and I often say this guy here should definitely take a drop. Because if you're going to straddle that guy and decide between a pitching wedge and a 7-iron, you're a dead man walking. They don't like anything touching their back, by the way, and that's a big gator. That's the kind that'll rip your leg off real quick. Now this was the snake, the shot that I took off the internet, and you can see the enormous size of it. You can also see that the people are made out of plastic. I'm sorry, when I come across these, I have to put them in because I think, who the hell has the time to do this? They should be honored somehow for being such idiots. Yeah, that snake was caught in Naples. 4 invasive lizards: the South American tegu, black spiny-tailed iguana, which we're lucky we don't have, folks. The green iguana, which we have, they taste like chicken. Nile monitor lizards, all released pets. This is the one, this is a tegu. I filmed this in Iguazu in South America. And it goes to about 10 pounds, and it's spreading. We don't have them here yet, but they're in eastern Collier. This is the black spiny-tailed iguana, a nightmare animal. Our green iguanas, all they eat is your garden, your hibiscus, and anything they can find, but they're herbivores. Black spiny-tails are omnivores. They eat turtle eggs, they eat birds, they eat bird eggs, they eat everything, and they're rampant in Boca Grande, where they've spent over $10 billion trying to get rid of them. Still have not gotten rid of them. This is the one we have that we see all over in our yards and stuff. And they actually are edible. In Mexico, they call them chicken of the tree. But I've never eaten. Has anyone here eaten iguana? You wouldn't raise your hand anyway, would you? What am I doing? How many of you have not eaten iguana? There we go. We got a show of hands there, folks. Hallelujah. I just can't do it. Something about it. And this is the nightmare one. And we found one once on Sanibel some years back, about a decade. This is a Nile monitor lizard, which grow to over 50 pounds. And they'll eat your little cute little dog. They'll eat cats. These guys are nasty. You can see Fish and Wildlife has them on extremely dangerous. And there is a solid amount of them, or a population of them in North Cape Coral. Bullfoot toads, cane toads, we've got them. I don't know if they were all wiped out from the storm. I know they were really hit bad. But in Australia, they grow to immense proportions. They can get up to 6 pounds, and they're a nightmare for Australia. They do everything to control them. This is a sign that you would see there, what to do with them and how to kill them. And they're just huge. And here's the good news. Each female, each year, lays 26 million eggs. So, that's not a good stat for us, because that's a lot. And this current range, they were definitely here on Sanibel before Ian and Milton and the overtoppings. I think they've been knocked back, but they look a lot like our native southern toad, but they're bigger, and they've got these big glands. But you can order these beautiful, I'll get you the website, I should have left it on there. That is a gorgeous cane toad. By the way, cane toads are poisonous. That's a poisonous cane toad bow tie, which, if you were to wear that at a party, everyone would leave, even if it were their house. Even the host, where the host, they left a half an hour ago. Ralph, take off the tie. Oh, there's my mom again. Cuban tree frog. Those are the ones we see all over. They've really taken over, but they eat our native frogs. When they get real big, they can eat our little tree frogs. So they're a big problem. But they got hit real hard in the storm, too. And you can see they're just through Florida. They're stopped by cold. The anole, we only used to have the green anole, but now the Cuban anole is almost the only one you ever see. And that's the one that looks like the little baby alligators. They're all over. When the sun comes out, you can see them in the scores. They're huge feeders. The cattle egret, all the egrets, they all eat them like crazy, as do the great egrets. That range is limited once again by cold. There's none in Alaska. Just once they hit the frost, they're done. Invasive fish. This is the lionfish, which does not bite on hook and line, so they got to go down and spear them. They're edible, but the prongs, the edges of these are all venomous. So if they poke you, then you get like a bee sting kind of deal. So I really don't want to clean one. Maybe it's just me. And then we have here on the island, all of our native brim and our bass have been replaced by the Mayan cichlid, which has taken over completely, and it's almost the only thing you'll find. Although almost all the freshwater fish on Sanibel are dead because of Milton. Milton and Ian, and to a lesser extent, Helene, that saltwater intrusion poisons the freshwater and kills it. This is a peacock bass. We don't have them much on the island, but they're all over in the Everglades. Great to catch, but from Central America. This is a good one. I think I'm going to get this to run. This is a walking catfish. And we have them. We have walking catfish. This was filmed right off the bike path in front of Ace Hardware on Sanibel a couple years back. But let me start it. It should start. Yeah. Yeah, and they can walk for up to a mile.
Oh, no.
And watch them take a breath of air at the very end. Watch them gasp. See? They can breathe. So they can stay out of the water for hours as long as they stay fairly wet. And they move during the heavy rainy seasons. So what happened was they were raising them commercially in some truck. Was in an accident and had a whole tank full of them dumped over in Broward County. And they've walked their way now across Florida. For real. That's how they made it, one pond at a time. In the rainy season, they can go for miles. Invasive insects. Oh, how many of you are big fans of fire ants? See, this is such a dull crowd. I usually like one medieval torturer who loves them. Fire ants got to us through Mobile, Alabama, but they can be particularly deadly. And this is one of their survival techniques. During floods, they bond together, wrap themselves around each other, and they can float for days. But if you bump into that, you're going to be floating right next to them because they will kill you. They will kill you. They release a pheromone and they all bite at the same time so they can put you into shock. And they have killed people. This is a spread from Mobile, Alabama, and I think this is where they are now. They're all the way into California. And the fire ant, there's potential range, but they're going to make it everywhere. They're just doing exceptionally well. I hate them. When you're out there and you're standing there in your sandals and enjoying the sunset, then all of a sudden you're screaming in pain because you got 28 bites on your leg. These are cockroaches, or palmetto bugs. They came from Africa on the slave ships, believe it or not. That was the first recognized, originally from sub-Saharan Africa. Aedes aegypti is the most dangerous animal on Earth. That's the carrier of dengue fever, malaria, etc. And that was not native to North America, but it's here to stay. And here's yellow fever. You can see they're all over, and they're spreading into Texas and Florida, a lot in South America. We had an invasion of these. These were spiraling white moths, but a local wasp found out they tasted real good, and they wiped them all out. So they succeeded for a year or two, and then they failed. I have not seen any of these on the island in years. Microbes. We forget that microbes are also invasive. Ebola is a microbe that hopefully we won't get invaded by. But others include avian bird flu, which is going on right now, West Nile virus, exotic Newcastle disease, the one I don't want to get, which is viral hemorrhagic septicemia. It doesn't sound good. When the doctor comes in and you say, well, what do I got? Well, Mr. Sobczak, you've got viral hemorrhagic septicemia. And then I say, how much morphine you guys got? Coronavirus, these are all invasive species. They're just little. Invasive birds and natural migrations. My God, so this next slides is a list of verified wild sightings of invasive birds. Don't try and read it, just enjoy how many slides there are. Muscovy duck is in there, all kinds of pigeons, parrots, and you can see why I didn't copy this. I just took a screenshot and said, the hell with it. It's 16 pages long. Yeah. All of these birds have been verified in the wild. Fortunately, most have failed to survive or have not been able to find a mate to propagate. Only a handful of birds have been permanently established. One of them being these, the Eurasian collared doves, which are absolutely ubiquitous. But in scientific studies, in the research that I did, and most of this research, by the way, is almost all of the animals we're talking about are included in the book that's for sale afterward called The Living Gulf Coast. And at the very end, I'm going to do a brief commercial because how many of you have a copy of Living Sanibel? Oh no, that's a goodly amount. That's a real treasure. That's such a different book. Anyone here have a copy of Living Gulf Coast? Oh, quite a few. So Living Gulf Coast was different because it was destinations that you could go to see nature off of the island. Living Sanibel was island specific. But Eurasian collared doves are everywhere. They did these studies, though, to find out that the Eurasian collared doves do not decrease the native population of mourning doves. They increase the population of mourning doves where they appear. And no one, for the life of Ryan, understands why. Because, there's a lot of mysteries and layers to biological chains, food chains and stuff that we don't understand. But I think this next slide, if it works, will show you their spread. Yes. Oh, is it kind of acting weird? Yeah. It got... Anyway, the long story short is they're all the way up into Canada now. And they're one of the most populous birds in the United States. And they were brought here by us. Of course, starlings were brought here in the 1850s so we could enjoy the songs that the birds of Shakespeare had. Kiss my butt. 300 million of them later. And don't they sound an awful lot like a fence that hasn't been oiled? I hate the sound. Sparrows, English sparrows, same thing, same time. In the 1850s by Shakespeare Society. Ooh. Pigeons, oh my God. Flying rats, exactly. Natural migrations, this is a good one. So this is a cattle egret in Africa. And in 1877, the cattle egret hitched a ride, just like the flamingos did, and Idalia. The flamingos rode Idalia all the way to Wisconsin. Not a smart move. But the cattle egret hitched a ride from either Africa or those islands just off of Africa, Cape Verdes, and landed in Guyana in 1877. I actually traced the hurricane that brought them there, and the only reason we know this is because the cattle farmers saw them on the cows and said, where did this guy come from? This bird is not native. Well, there's the hurricane in the track, and they jumped off when the hurricane was in blue, and then flew into Suriname and Guyana. And now they're the most populous heron in all of North America. They're the most populous heron in the world. They're so successful. And they got here not through us. They got here in the eye wall of a hurricane. They got stuck in it. And the only thing you can do is ride it out. So another one is glossy ibis. They got here via the Bahamas, but not through us. They made it here on their own. Another one is the coyote. Coyotes are not native to Florida. In 1500, just before Columbus set foot in all of the European invasion, there were no coyotes east of the Mississippi because we had wolves, and the wolves would kill the coyotes. But now we have coyotes, and they are everywhere. Oh, there she is again. We'll get to them later. Invasive plants. This is one I'm proud to say, I think for the most part, most of the Brazilian pepper on Sanibel is gone. But the trouble is the birds can go eat it in Pine Island and then grab it here, and then we're going to get little ones again. It'll be a forever. It's so aggressive, it's covered just 700,000 acres is probably a light. And this is its range. And that one county that says it doesn't have any, they're lying. If I were to go there this afternoon, I'd find tree after tree. I'm not that dumb. You don't get an isolated pocket like that. But you can see where the freezes happen up north. They go on that high ridge coming down to Gainesville, and that's what stops them, cold. We did get rid of all the Melaleuca on Sanibel. It's still in the glades though. And Melaleuca is a big problem. Australian pines. Number one, I want to tell you this because they're not pines. They're called botany oaks, and they're from Australia. And the pine-like needles are deciduous. They drop just like a deciduous tree, just kind of at random intervals. But they're done, they became like that to withstand the incredibly horrific droughts that Australia is prone to. But it is the best burning wood in the world. There is none better than Australian pine. I grew up in Minnesota, and for a while I lived out in a cabin and ate nothing but wild things and had long hair and well, that was my mom. That's what I said. You get the picture. But we used to burn a lot of oak and maple, and Australian pine has no sap in it because remember, it's an oak. And it's twice as dense as oak. If you throw a piece of Australian pine into the water, it sinks to the bottom. It has no capacity to float because it's so dense. But it spreads like wildfire because the seeds are salt resistant, and that's why it grows up along all the beaches. How did they all arise? Well, intentional pet releases, unwanted released pets, ships from foreign ports, slave ships, airplanes, root balls of plants, changing climatic conditions, cars, camping gear, boots. The list is endless, but what do they all have in common? Us. Almost all these animals that we've just covered got here by us, except a handful. Since our migration out of Africa 200,000 years ago, we have proven to be the most invasive species on the planet. We are now the dominant species on every continent on Earth except Antarctica, which, who knows, we might be the Riviera of the South. Sure is a little cold. Anyway, that's our migration out, at least as it stands. However, you know, right now, for those of you who follow, I'm a big amateur anthropologist, and there is probably, without a doubt now, proof that humans were in the New World some 20 to 25,000 years ago, twice as long as originally anticipated. They're finding some really hard to deny evidence that we were here a long, long time ago. They don't know how. But in reality, we were just as innocent creating this invasion as we were the species we introduced. Now, not any longer. Now we know these invasive species cost us over $160 billion a year to deal with. We can do better. But here's the problem. You see, Florida has a fairly restricted import now, especially after the Burmese python nightmare. But notice it abuts Alabama, and Alabama is white, which means if you want to, you can actually bring home and have a pet Bengal tiger, which is really not advised. Don't walk away from here thinking, oh, Charlie says I need a tiger, because you don't need a tiger. That's not a good idea. This is a bad animal. I don't know why these people would have such a big thing. They weigh 500 pounds.
They have teeth.
Big teeth, and they eat people a lot in India. So they have an exotic pet amnesty day. This is an older one, but every year they post it. So if you have one, you can bring them in, and then they'll tell you how to dispose of the different frogs and stuff if you catch them and want to kill them. I've kind of given up on killing any of them. I figured, they didn't mean any harm, but there are certain ones that I would certainly kill, like a Nile monitor lizard. In conclusion, I always like to end with this 5 major issues facing us as we all move forward. The one is nuclear annihilation, which is my choice because it's going to be quick. None of this pain and suffering stuff. It's just 20, 30 minutes later, sayonara. And because I'm a rocket man, there's another one. I tried to find one with you-know-who on it, but they don't have one out yet. Maybe by this afternoon. This is the one to really watch out, because you know what that pandemic of 1918 was? Do you know what that was, don't you? It was bird flu. It was fatal bird flu that jumped from birds to us and killed more people than the entirety of World War I. Between 40 and 60 million people died. Fatality rate was 80%, not COVID, 80%. So 8 out of 10 of us, if it jumps, will die. That's the one to watch. This bird flu that's going around, H151, N151, that's potentially absolutely horrific if it flips and becomes contagious. It killed so many people. This one here, that's the COVID, I think.
Yeah.
Overpopulation, that was more of a factor than it is now. We'll probably peak somewhere around 10 billion and then we're going to start to decline. Because this graph shows the peak of our reproduction on the planet was 1962. And since then, we've been on a steady decline, and so the reproduction rate is falling, but there's still several billion of us to go. Climate change. Now, we all know 2023 was the warmest. They're now pretty sure 2024 is the warmest. I'm just going to give you a little chart that I'm going to make up in my head. 2025 will be the warmest. 2026 will be the warmest. 2027 will be the warmest. Tell me when to stop, because it's not going to stop. We're not doing enough to address it. And this is a typical human response. And this is... So you know where I stand there. But we can't ignore it any longer because it's making such a mess of things. The recent wildfires of California, where, of course, they couldn't put out 280 houses. Our fire hydrants are designed to put out 1 or 2 houses that are burning at the same time, not 280. I mean, we'd have to have fire hoses the size of this room to be able to cope with that kind of thing. Climate change is no longer fun or funny. It's on us, and we've got to start tackling it. I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, but I sure wish it was. So here we are again. Beautiful Suave, still wearing that fur. Oh, and there we are. And this is my biggest warning to all of you, because this is our most dangerous behavior. It's called tribalism. Tribalism is when you divide one tribe to the other and put them at war with each other so you can distract and do whatever you want. And if you think these people look weird, these are from Papua New Guinea, just look around. Because these, I think, are from Georgia. Is it Georgia Tech? Yeah, so it's Georgia Tech, isn't it? Just so you can see the difference. I like these guys. They have more color. They've just got and I like the things through the nose. These guys, they haven't gone to the nose yet, but I'm sure there's some piercing somewhere. So Democrat, Republican, or Independent, we should never politicize science, which we are doing right now. We're politicizing science. Bad idea. The last time we did that, it didn't work out so well. We were in the Dark Ages for over 500 years, and we denied all of the knowledge that the Greeks and the Romans, and we became just, it's a nightmare. It's a really nightmare scenario. And I picked this off the net. Mainstream science is fake science. This is a website that discredits everything. How the hell do you think this computer works? I love Stephen Hawking for this one. We are just an advanced breed of monkeys on a minor planet of a very average star, but we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special. And it's our ability to be self-aware that is truly amazing. One final question. In the long run, could it be that our invasive and inquisitive nature is meant to take life beyond our planet to places such as Mars, the moons of Saturn, and beyond? You know, the ultimate invasion. And in this shot, I just want you to understand, there are at least 4 cockroaches in the glove box and a Burmese python in the top. Because we ain't going there alone. You know, if nothing else, you know damn well the first thing on Mars will be no seals. So that is the end. I'm going to do one brief plug for the book that I'll be signing afterward. After I did Living Sanibel, which was a real labor of love and a lot of fun to write, and I still use it myself for reference because I can't remember all the crap I made up. I mean, I put in that book. Oh, yeah, exactly. All I did is copy and paste from Wikipedia. That was it. The truth be known, I had to write another book because there were so many amazing places aside from Sanibel, to visit in Lee, Collier, all these counties. So I did a very detailed look at each county, contacting the Audubon people, finding kind of secret places and fun places that no one knew about. So there are like 62 destinations. And I'll see hands up. How many of you have ever been to Corkscrew Swamp? Okay, this is a good crowd. I like you people, because that is now. How about Myakka State Park? Okay, not as many, but that's another. These are great places to visit, and that's what I focused on. Were in some of the very obscure ones in the book, and it'll be available afterward. And of course, a sizable chunk goes to Ding. But now, any questions, answers, or observations about the presentation and invasive species? Yes, Abir?
We were someplace and they mentioned a different, and I may pronounce wrong, eagle, like the little lizard?
Anole.
But anole, there. But it had a curly tail.
Yes, it's called a curly-tailed lizard, actually. That's not an anole. And that's from, I want to think, North Africa. Invasive. They have them all over Tween Waters, because they go to the bar there. You guys are, it's nice to have a fun crowd that has a sense of humor. Because if you don't have a sense of humor, don't come to my lecture. And I hate graphs. Yes, back there?
The Saskatchewan ability to keep out the black rats, how did that come about?
Yeah, that's bullshit. He asked if the Saskatchewans, how do they keep the black rat out? They didn't. They just somehow bribed the guy who did the math. No, the black rats are in Saskatchewan. Yeah, they're all over the damn place. They can even, but in the wintertime, they got to stay warm or they'll die. So they go into a lot of houses and basements and any place they can hide. Yes, another question?
Yeah, did the coyotes, or coyotes, I don't know what you say, did they help control the rat population?
Oh, yes, she was asking, do the coyotes help control? Absolutely. The coyotes on Sanibel, and boy, when those sirens go off on those ambulances going down Sanibel, whoop, 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 whoop. I mean, at our house, we've actually had them in our backyard. They can scare the daylights out of you when they get howling. But they eat a lot of rats. If a small one, they're so fast, they can run at over 35 miles an hour. And they also eat something else. They eat a lot of wild cats, because they can catch the cats. And the cats are as bad as the rats in terms of bird population. But the coyotes are actually relatively benign. And you might take note that no one from Ding or anywhere in the city has ever said we got to eradicate. We could eradicate them. There's a whole bunch of them. You could trap them out and all that. But I think they probably do more good than harm. And they eat a ton of rats. Yes?
They also found, when they brought in a run over or hurt coyote that was dead and they did an autopsy on it, that they're also eating the iguanas.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the iguanas, I don't think they saute them or anything. They do the old sashimi way. But yeah, the iguanas, especially when it gets cold, when those iguanas drop to the ground on those really cold days, which we might get a couple coming up, those coyotes are sitting there licking their chops, waiting. Come on, bucko. Yeah, and that's why I think that Ding nor the city has taken a stand to eradicate them. Yes, I'll just take two more questions. In the back again, sir?
Are bobcats considered invasive?
No, bobcats have been here since. And a lot of animals that are in the living Gulf Coast, because it also has a whole bunch of animals that we used to have, we don't have anymore. We used to have wild turkeys. We used to have deer, hence the name buck key. That was because that's where they would shoot the big bucks. And we used to have a lot of others that are extirpated. They're just gone. We don't have sandhill cranes here. We don't have a lot of inland birds and inland wildlife that just doesn't make it to the island or is gone. Yes, way in the back?
How are you doing? Is there a difference between exotic species and invasive species, or is it interchangeable?
Oh, his question is there a difference between exotic and invasive? I'd say probably it's interchangeable, because you would call the Burmese python an exotic invasive, but I wouldn't delineate, I wouldn't I just wing it. In the book, I just winged it. I made a lot of, all the scientific names in the book, by the way, are basically, the E. pluribus unum or whatever. They're just variations on that. I made them all up. They're so easy to make up because no one ever looks at them anyway. Yes, one last question. You guys are fun.
Gamma lizards, have you seen them here?
Yes, agama lizards are here. Yes, not in any population yet, but rarely you'll find them. And we've also got one that screams a lot, and I forget the name of that one. But that one seems to, it's a gecko. Yeah, Tokai gecko, yeah, that screamer. But they're gone. The storm really hit them, Ian especially, with an 11-foot storm surge. None of these lizards are salt friendly. So, except, of course, the green iguanas. They went, oh, it was a great day for us. Yes. One last final question, sure.
Well, there used to be these large lizard-like things out on Pond Apple Trail. They were black, but they were huge.
Well, those might have been Nile monitor lizards, but they got them all. They're not there now.
No, I haven't seen them.
No, or they could have been Nile, they could have been the other one, which is the black spiny-tailed iguana, which is way worse of a nightmare, because they'll dig up turtle nests and eat all the damn eggs, or the turtles, or both. I mean, they're just omnivores. The green iguanas, as terrible as they are, we've created, I always like to tell people, if you look at today's ecosystem, it's like we took all the animals we could think of from all the continents we could find them, put them into a giant blender, hit frappe, walked away, and poured it out. And what you have now is food chains that make no sense, because the coyotes are thriving on black rats and iguanas. Oh, none of them should be here. But now we've created all these food chains, many of which we probably shouldn't disturb. It's just a brave, new, kind of confused world. I do another lecture called The Changing Face of Nature, which is fascinating about that, but maybe down the road I'll do it here. But I want to thank you all for being just the most fun crowd ever. Thank you.